Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a hidden world, one that quietly keeps our entire financial system running. It's a place where banks borrow from other banks, and the deals they make there, well, they can have a huge impact on millions of personal loans and mortgages. Yeah, maybe even yours. This is the interbank market. So, if you've ever looked at a loan document and seen the word Euribor, you've already had a brush with this world. But what is that really? Where does that number come from? Well, it's the answer to a really high-stakes question that banks ask each other every single day. Let's figure it out. Okay, to really get how this all works, let's start with a bit of drama. We need a crisis. So let's imagine a bank. We'll call it Bank Alpha, and it is right on the edge of going bust. This kind of thing happens more often than you think. And here's the pickle Bank Alpha is in. It owes another bank, let's call it Bank Beta, the equivalent of 1,000 ounces of gold. And Bank Beta, it wants its money, like right now. The problem is, Bank Alpha doesn't have that much cash just lying around. It has other assets, sure, like loans it's given out, but it can't just magically turn those into cash. That right there, that's what you call a classic liquidity crunch. Okay, so just look at the numbers here. On the left, under assets, Bank Alpha has a loan worth $800 that it's waiting to get paid back on, but it only has $200 in actual cash. Now look to the right at its liabilities. It owes Bank Beta $1,000 on what's called a demand deposit, which means Beta can ask for it back anytime. So you see the problem, right? They are $800 short, and if they can't come up with that cash fast, they're going to default. Game over. So what can they do? Bank Alpha has to find a way to refinance this debt. Its best shot is to turn to other banks for help. And this is exactly where the interbank market becomes the hero of the story. It offers two main ways out of this mess. Okay, so option one, go find a new friend. Bank Alpha can go to a totally different bank, let's call it Bank Gamma, and beg for a short-term loan. Option two is to go talk to the bank it already owes money to, Bank Beta, and try to negotiate a new deal. Let's see how both of these would play out. All right, let's follow the money in solution number one. Bank Gamma says yes and wires $800 in cash over to Bank Alpha. Boom! Just like that, Alpha's cash reserves jump from a scary $200 to a much healthier $1,000. Now they have exactly what they need. They immediately send that $1,000 over to Bank Beta, and poof, the original debt is gone. And here's what everything looks like after the dust settles. Bank Alpha still has its $800 loan asset, but its massive urgent debt to Beta has been swapped for a new, more manageable short-term debt to Bank Gamma. And Bank Beta, it's thrilled. It's got its $1,000 in cash. The system is stable. Crisis averted. Now for path number two. In this one, Alpha goes straight to Beta and says, look, I've got $200 in cash right now, take it. But for the other $800, I need more time. They ask to change that urgent demand for payment into a normal, short-term loan. And this legal switcheroo has a name. It's called novation. And would you look at that? The negotiation worked. Bank Alpha has paid the $200 it had, and now its liability is just an $800 loan it owes to Beta. Now check out Bank Beta. It's got $200 in cash and a brand new asset, an $800 loan to Bank Alpha. Beta is now the lender. And just like before, the system is stable. So great. Bank Alpha survived. But let's be real, these rescue loans aren't free. There's always a price to pay for borrowing money. And here's the crazy part. The name for the average price of these exact kinds of deals? Well, it's a name you've almost certainly heard before. See, whether Alpha got the loan from Gamma or just an extension from Beta, it had to agree to pay some interest. That interest is the fee for the favor, the cost of that lifeline. And we call that the interbank interest rate. And boom, there it is, the big reveal. That mysterious word, Euribor. It stands for the Euro Interbank Offered Rate. It's nothing more than the average interest rate that banks in the Eurozone charge each other for these kinds of short-term loans. It's basically the pulse of the whole banking system. And this is the part that really matters to you and me. When a bank offers you a variable rate mortgage, they're basically saying, hey, you're going to pay us whatever it costs us to borrow money on the interbank market, plus a little extra for our trouble. That cost is the Euribor. So when the Euribor goes up, your mortgage payment goes up. Your personal finances are directly linked to these behind-the-scenes bank dramas. Okay, so we know what it is. But why does it go up and down? What makes the Euribor change? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. It's Economics 101. It all comes down to plain old supply and demand for cash.
Think about it. If a ton of banks are scrambling for cash at the same time, like our friend Bank Alpha, but not many banks have extra cash to lend out, what happens? Demand is sky high, supply is low, so the price of borrowing, that interest rate, it's going to go up. On the flip side, if all the banks are sitting on piles of cash and nobody really needs to borrow, the rate drops.
Okay, but this brings up a really big question, right? If the whole system depends on the amount of these cash reserves, where do they even come from? And is anyone actually in charge of the supply? Well, you can think of it in two ways. In the old days, a system might be based on something real, like gold. The supply of gold is what economists call exogenous. It's external, it's fixed. You can't just snap your fingers and make more gold. That means interest rates can be, well, all over the place, super volatile. But today, our system is different. Reserves are a financial asset, and their supply is endogenous, meaning it's internal, and it can be managed by whoever issues it, which helps keep those rates stable. So if someone is managing the supply, who is it? Who's the one that can create these reserves for the entire banking system? That all-powerful issuer, the one that creates and manages the reserves for all the other banks, is the central bank. You know, like the European Central Bank in Europe or the Federal Reserve in the US. So, let's recap. We've pulled back the curtain on the Euribor. It's not some random number, it's the real-time price of cash between banks. And that price is driven by the supply of reserves. The big takeaway here is that this hidden market, with all its daily dramas, directly affects the interest rate you pay on your loans. But the billion-dollar question is, how? How exactly does the central bank pull the levers to control everything? Well, that's a story for our next explainer.